Hey, what's up YouTube? This is Blazer Guy 1983 here. I'm coming at you with a quick discussion about my 2011 Nissan Altima. Apologize for the background noise. Unfortunately, I do live next to a pretty busy intersection here during rush hour. But what this video is going to be about is a very quick discussion about painting cars. So I decided to venture out and paint my own roof on my vehicle. So what I did was, there's a seal that goes across here. I just used this for the paint line because unfortunately I didn't realize when they did my windshield that they had sealed that down, which it probably is supposed to be. However, I was hoping to take this up to paint there. And I also peeled up this trim here that goes along the windshield, that goes up over and it covers the actual seam where the vehicle is put together here, and pulled that up so I could hide the paint line under there. Because if I didn't do that, I would be then basically having to do a blend down into the quarter panel, which I was trying to avoid, because obviously who wants to get into all that when it's not necessary. But the reason for painting my own roof was because I had extreme clear coat issue, which seems to be a very common problem on Nissans, especially like the Maximas and the Altimas that come in the darker colors, especially like black is the biggest one that has the issue. But I've seen it with some of the other colors as well, like the darker blues and reds and stuff like that. With that said, by no means is this a professional job. I mean, unfortunately, it's hard to see here with the low light, but I did get a lot of dirt in the paint. Had a makeshift paint booth set up in my driveway and did all this all in an afternoon. So I think it turned out pretty good. Like I said, I do have some orange peel in it. A lot of that I think came from the fact that I didn't have the paint gun probably set right, based on my lack of experience with using paint guns. But for someone that doesn't do very much body work like myself, I think it turned out pretty darn good. From 8 feet away, I'd say 10 feet, it looks fantastic. I did buff it. I probably will buff it again with a cutting compound to see if I can try to get some more of this orange peel out of it. Like I said, it's probably not showing up on the camera, unfortunately. However, probably it was supposed to wet sand it. You could correct me in the video if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure I should have wet sanded it, but I didn't want to do that because the results that I got were satisfactory to my liking, and I didn't want to risk wet sanding it and causing any other issues after all the work I did. So I just went ahead and got a pretty coarse wool buffing pad and some buffing compound and buffed it, and then sealed it with some sealant. I let it cure up for a while before I did that. I didn't rush out and do that right away because you really should let the paint breathe for a while. In general, I think it turned out pretty good. It was the worst section of the car. I mean, as you can see, the car doesn't look too bad in general. There are still other clear coat issues like along the edges and the seams here, as well as around the hood and the fenders and things like that. But I'll post at the end of this video a picture of what it looked like before I did this work, so you can see what the before results were. I'll also post a picture I took of some of the materials that I was throwing together to actually do this. It doesn't include all of them, but it does include like a picture of the sprayer that I used from Harbor Freight. If I remember, I'll also put a link to that in the description. Got it on sale for $9, so I think it did a pretty darn good job for a $9, you know, professional automotive spray paint, or spray gun I should say. So I actually went up to a auto parts up the hill from me here, which I live in North Huntington, Pennsylvania. It's called Hovis and Hovis Auto. They mix paint there, do a really good job. Not pretty on par with price. I wouldn't say the price was great, but the price was pretty much about the same as what it was a year and a half ago when I last got a price quote for the paint from another place that actually ended up going out of business. So, but this section turned out really good here too, as you can see. Like I said, same thing on this side. I pulled up this trim here, which is just held in some plastic clips so I could hide that paint line. The biggest challenge was painting around this stupid moonroof here, or sunroof, whatever you want to call it. What I did was I actually opened it and recessed it in, and then taped back inside the lip here down about 1/2 inch, so that when I sprayed it, it would not have the paint line up here, which took a risk of peeling around these edges, so it was hidden down in there, the paint line, so you can't see it. that was a really good idea. I'm glad I did that because, like I said, the edges were really, really bad. Like along here, this edge here was really peeling badly from the clear coat. So I'm glad I decided to do that. Like I said, not a professional job, just kind of a quick video to show you guys that this is something that is obtainable to do if you want to try it yourself, especially, you know, if you want to have an older vehicle like I do and you don't care too much about how it looks, you know, to experiment with. I have painted vehicles before, but never a black car. Black is a really difficult color in my opinion to paint. I've done like silvers and beiges and stuff like that, and those colors usually come out pretty good, especially white. And the one other thing too was this guy here, the antenna. I decided to just leave it and paint around it, so I taped it off as close as I could get it and paint around it, because you have to go inside and drop the whole headliner to do that, to take this antenna, and there's a gasket, rubber gasket under here. It wasn't about to do that. This is for the GPS and navigation, I believe, as well as possibly the satellite radio that I have on this vehicle. So I was not about to try to go through all that. I did run some paint down in through here. I taped it off along the window because this was starting to rust and actually peel. So the most important thing is when you paint any kind of anything, but especially a vehicle, is you want really good prep work. Your prep work is 100% going to determine the results that you get. That's not just the sanding, but I'm talking like the taping everything off, the covering the vehicle, and you'll see that in my makeshift paint booth that I made. I wouldn't even call it a paint booth. It was more of just a whole bunch of plastic covering the car, and with a canopy that I put up. Unfortunately, that is what caused me to get a lot of the dirt in the paint, is because of that. So that's the only unfortunate part. Can't avoid that outside. It's really difficult no matter what you do. I actually had a bug get in the paint over here, and once you spray it and the clear sticky, you don't want to touch it. You're almost better off just leaving the dirt or the bug or the imperfection in some cases, because if it's minor, if you go and you mess with it and you put your finger in there and you try to get the bug out of there, you're going to make a bigger mess. Trust me. Sometimes it's better just to count your losses. So when I was buffing it, it actually pulled the bug out of the paint, so I went with a little bit of touch-up, and I threw just a little bit of touch-up on there to cover up where it was. I could have did a little better with the prep up here. Once again, it's probably hard to see, but there's, you can see there's a little bit of roughness under the clear coat, which is caused from the fact that the clear was peeling so bad. So I probably didn't do a good enough job feathering with the sandpaper. I used a dual action sander. I think I used 800 and 600 grit. 600 was what I hit it with, and then I went back with 800. Didn't have to use any primer, mainly because there was still paint. I didn't actually get down to bare metal anywhere on the vehicle. I was able to just get it down to paint, and I just basically roughed up the clear so that it would have something to stick to, because if you don't rough up the surface and you have a smooth surface, the paint will not adhere. The other important thing is wax and grease remover. You can get a can of that pretty much anywhere. You want to use wax and grease remover to clean and prep the surface right before you paint it and let it dry real good, because any wax or grease will cause the paint to just kind of, you know, it'll look like crap. You'll get even more orange peel than what I have in this. Like I said, you probably can't see because of the poor lighting at this time of day. It's kind of like twilight almost now, but I'm happy. Just once again wanted to show you. Here's a quick glance of the car. It does need a wash, but it doesn't look terrible. I highly recommend Chemical Guys, by the way, guys. Not sponsored by them. I use their waterless car wash. You can get it for like 10 bucks at Walmart. And the nice thing about the waterless car wash is that it, as long as your car is not filthy dirty and it's just dusty or has a little bit of, you know, maybe some bird droppings, a little residue on the vehicle from previous rain or some pollen, does a real good job. You know, you want to use a really soft cloth, you know, make sure you get it nice and wet. Wipe it, and then you flip the towel over, and you can use that to dry it and buff it with the dry side. And the wet chemical that they use has, I think, lubricants in it to help keep the dirt that might get in the rag from scratching. So if you had like a Ferrari or a Corvette, you obviously probably don't want to use any of that crap. I'd probably just say professionally clean it. Don't, you know, waterless car wash, I don't know how I feel. I feel like sometimes you can actually cause more scratches by not just getting water on the vehicle and rinsing it. However, I use it in between washes. It also adds a little bit of sheen to the car, a little shine. And in addition to that, gives it a little bit of protection too. I notice after I do that, I have really good water beating. So let me know what you think. I also have the original hood in my shed. I plan on painting it. This is a hood I actually picked up at the junkyard for I think 46 bucks, and I pulled it off a 2010 Altima, and I got it because this one here was in way better shape and it was the same color as mine. Mine had a lot of actual clear coat. There was a whole section that was over here. It was like this big around right here that was just completely gone, the clear coat. This has a lot of nicks on it, a lot of scratches. I've managed to fill most of those in with touch-up and did a buff on this and got a lot of the shine out of this. Unfortunately, the other complaint I have about this paint from Nissan is the oxidation is a huge issue with this paint. I don't know why. I think once again a lot of it has to do with the fact that they use such a thin clear coat. Like, I mean, I could just sit here with my fingernail and just rip all the clear coat right off that's coming off at the edges there. So if they would have just put more clear coat on it, I think that would have really helped. I think that's where the biggest problem is with these cars, is they don't put a thick enough layer on it. I put quite a bit. I think I put maybe 3 coats of clear coat on there, and it really gave it a nice luster, a nice shine. And I think that this is going to outlast what I did here, is probably going to outlast the body factory paint any day. So I mean, this is an 11-year-old car. So, but let me know what you think. I appreciate you guys watching, and you know, please remember to subscribe. Like I said at the end of this video, I'm going to put a link to the Harbor Freight spray gun that I use, as well as show you a picture of what the before looked like, and some of the, just not all of them, but some of the materials that I had picked up a few days before I actually did this project. Just throw that in a picture so you can see. But let me know what you think. Like I said, I think it turned out all right. It's not professional, but this is proof that with the right tools and some, basically an afternoon, a nice afternoon, and some time, you could get some pretty decent results, you know, if you want to paint your own vehicle. Other than that, I hope everybody's staying safe, and y'all have a great day, and keep an eye out for more videos. I'm planning on making some more videos here coming soon.